Taylor can't get it. Derry!
And over he goes. Malcolm Marks.
Driving at the line, it's a second effort, and he gets there. Same movements to goal, and the try. Carreras scores for Los Pumas.
Right. It might not feel like it right now in New Zealand, but we are edging closer towards spring, and that also means that we are probably the best rugby competition in the Southern Hemisphere is just about to get underway. And of course, I'm talking about the 2025 Rugby Championship, which featuring Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Argentina. So look, I'm going to talk about, obviously, I'm going to talk about my topic expertise. I think that's the All Blacks, and then I'm going to briefly talk about each team, the squads that have been named, the one game that I'm looking forward to, and also finally cap it off with my predictions on the 2025 Rugby Championship. Right, so I think the big theme that New Zealand rugby fans have pretty much been accustomed to this season is the number of the number of injuries that afflicted the All Blacks. Of course, I think there have been so many injuries that I've kind of almost forgotten who's fit. I guess obviously there is the one big name, which is the captain Scott Barrett. He was injured in the French series, but this should be expected to take some part later in the Rugby Championship. And as a matter of fact, a 36-player squad plus injury cover, so you're effectively 40. That's 41 players have been named for this Rugby Championship. I'm going to talk about. Look, the squad, the 36-player squad is pretty much what you expect. But so I'm just going to talk about the 6 extra players plus a couple, one maybe two particular new names that might stand out. So look, let's talk about we'll talk about the new names in the official 36-player squad. That's the naming of Northland Simon Parker, the first All Black from Northland to be named while playing for Northland. That is since Jack Goodhue, not really a Ranger, because Jack Goodhue was actually officially part of Northland when he was named in the All Blacks in 2017. Simon Parker, of course, he's been a name that everyone, New Zealand rugby fans and Chiefs fans in particular, have been clamoring for, particularly this season. He's he unfortunately picked up an injury, which was why he wasn't in the original squad to face France. But he's gotten over that now. And look, he did play, as I made this video, he was playing NPC for Northland, and then will join the squad in Argentina. But so look, he's a big blindside flanker. Look, I know they've been sort of trying to started playing Tupou Vaa'i at 6. I guess I think it looks like the next option is perhaps Simon Parker. I guess similar physique and all that, and perhaps a bit more consistent than his Chiefs teammate Sami Penifina. So, but no, this is certainly an inclusion that I'm looking forward to. I guess he is chucked straight into what has always been a physically demanding, brutal championship. You're playing your Springboks, you're playing your Pumas, the Australians. Yes, they are physical still, and so it will be a good gauge to see what Simon Parker's All Black future is. As long as he's fit and healthy, of course. So with Parker, and I guess I should mention Peter Lakai's in the squad, so that means unfortunately Christian Lowili, who I guess it's kind of, I think you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work that out. I guess he was sort of like the like-for-like clone for Wallace Satiti. Now that Wallace Satiti's back, so Leo Willie misses out, which is a shame for him, but I guess as an Otago fan, I'm kind of happy for that. I'm going to quickly mention the 6 names for injury cover. George Bauer, well, you know who he is. Tavita Mafilea, which, he's sort of been in the All Blacks it's funny how they've got his name. He's mentioned they've got a cap, but he was playing for the All Blacks 15. So yeah, a chance for him to earn his first cap in the for the All Blacks. George Lord, I've said he's been one of the most unlucky injury-ridden players in New Zealand. He gets his chance. I know there's been question marks about his fitness, but yeah, look, I mean, he's a player that the All Blacks. He's certainly been in the All Black environment for ages, so it's not a surprise that he's been called in with Scott Barrett still recovering, and then of course, and then Finley Christie, and Carl Preston. Obviously, there's the news. Roygaard has the stress fracture. Noah Holtham is out, so Cortez Ratimer will be the number one halfback. Christie, well, this possibly might be his last chance to really show that he's got a part to play in the All Blacks. Still a player a halfback that you wouldn't mind having in the squad. I mean, I know Roy, you've got Roygaard, who is really good around the fringes. Ratimer is a bit more similar, but a bit more of a game player. And whereas Finley Christie is more, he is certainly more of the game organizer. Sort of halfback. He's sort of, I guess, he's kind of a bit on the outer at the moment. But look, I mean, if he has a good tour, if he has in the games that he features, which I anticipate he will give him the position he's in. If he does perform well, then there is no reason to say why not for Finley Christie. And of course, Carl Preston, has had a really good season with the Crusaders. He's not related to John Preston, I should reiterate that. But yes, he certainly deserved it. He's another one, very good box kicker. So we shall see what happens there. And then finally, Leroy Carter, who I've spoken about many times in the past. He's a player who is actually the other thing that people don't have to mention is his utility. He can play halfback. He can pretty much play every position in the back with double digits, and so he's certainly there. Wing is certainly a position that is a little bit of a trouble spot, which is why it's great we're getting the likes of Lester Whainuku back in the New Zealand rugby, and he'll be ready for the end of year 2 or so. But certainly Leroy Carter, he's certainly one I've tipped for to have a lot of to have a big say in the All Blacks in the future. Well, I'm gonna go high level over the other, those sort of the Wallabies, the Pumas, and the Boks, just partly because my knowledge of them is not as much as the All Blacks. All in all, of course, they've all got very, very strong squads. We're looking at the Pumas. Montoya as captain, coached by Felipe Contepomi. So very much, all Argentina sort of coaching the sign up. You've got it's a decent squad. I mean, there's been sort of question marks, I guess, since forever, really, about their consistency. They beat the British and Irish Lions in Dublin, although take that as you will, and then they lost to England at home. But it's still going to be a very tough physical side. I guess there's also sort of preparing to transition into the next era, although you'd expect someone like Matera to feature a lot. And then I mean, in recent times, like Argentina have sort of moved away from just being one-dimensional. They've got the backs have scored some pretty sensational tries. A lot of them playing, of course, all of them pretty much playing in Europe or so. So I think they're sort of in the same environment as like the Springboks. So and so look, it's gonna. I always it's a pretty decent side. With quite a number of good players, and I think certainly one that we definitely cannot take lightly. Certainly in Argentina, running of course to the Wallabies. Obviously, the one standout, of course, Nick White having to pause his retirement to answer an SOS call due to the injuries they have at scrum half. White, of course, it'll be interesting to see whether he, whether he starts against the Springboks. He had a really good farewell test, because I guess it's not his farewell test anymore against the British and Irish Lions. Or will they? Will they start to back young Tate McDermott, who I think arguably maybe should be the starting scrum half. Other than that, yeah, look, it's pretty much the same squad as that took on the British and Irish Lions. One player of note is Aidan Ross. Of course, he was selected for the All Blacks. Now moved over to Australia. Now he's finished he's completed his eligibility. Now he's going to be a Wallaby. So, yeah, look, they are. I guess on paper they are the most test ready because they just played British and Irish Lions series. Having said that, though, of course they are traveling to South Africa. It'll be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be a really, really big challenge. But, look, there is certainly signs of promise that emerge from that British and Irish Lions series. But, yeah, I still think that out of the 4 squads, I think the Wallabies probably have, on paper, the weaker squad. Not saying that is absolutely weird, just compared to, maybe I guess, maybe close to Argentina's, but certainly compared to, like, the All Blacks and Springboks. Certainly... it certainly may leave a bit to be desired. The Springboks clearly have in my opinion, definitely have the strongest team. You look at the names, they're kind of like what the All Blacks were 10 years ago. They have they pretty much have at least 2 world-class players for every single position. Take hooker, for example, and I can't believe that Bonami is older than Malcolm Marx, and so they've got young Marnus van der Merwe, who is not going to really play much. You look at the whole. You look through the list. Etzebeth, one of the top 3 locks in the world. Maro Itoje might have something to say about that. Look, there's Moster. They've got Luke Diago, who's someone I've always rated. Steph du Toit is probably arguably one of the best flankers in the world, with Cy Cleese, the captain, Quagga Smith. And you've got in the backs, look, with Tony Brown working on the Springboks a lot more, there's a lot more, seems to be a bit more, the backs seem to be able to, they're trying to be more adventurous there. For me, I think, maybe perhaps would they go with the steady Handré Pollard, or would they go with the explosive slightly inconsistent Townsend Mani Lebok? And of course, Damien Delanda, who might very well be the best centre in world rugby right now, partnered with Jesse Creel, although there's a couple of odd options there, and Cheston Colby on the wing. It looks like, and the ageless wonder that is Willie LaRue at fullback. But it is. I think the Springboks on paper have the strongest side out of the 4, and rightly go into the competition as favourites. So let's quick talk about the fixtures. Look, there's some interesting ones to note. Australia's going to play all their tests in the afternoon or late evening. I'm talking about the one in Perth, which is Australia versus New Zealand. That's the second Bledisloe test. South Africa. Of course, Australia, they had to play South Africa at Ellis Park and in Cape Town. New Zealand traveled to they play in Cordoba at the Mario Kempes Stadium. That Mario Kempes, I didn't realize he had a stadium named after him. It's in Cordoba, and then the Jose Amalfitani Stadium, which we've played at many times. And then, we come to probably the 2 test series the little mini series that we're looking forward to most. It's New Zealand versus South Africa. First test at Eden Park on the 6th of September, followed by the second test on the 13th of September in Wellington. So a lot of talk about whether the Springboks can finally end the All Blacks unbeaten streak at Eden Park, which has gone since 1994. There's a lot of it. Certainly this is possibly the biggest rugby game of the year, apart from the Women's Rugby World Cup final. Certainly in South Africa will be, in South Africa coming to New Zealand, they'll certainly be targeting to get at least 1 win, certainly in the scope of the Rugby Championship. then South Africa and Argentina this Rugby Championship will end in London just a week after the Women's Rugby World Cup final, because Argentina will host South Africa at Twickenham Stadium. I think it's not really, you can work out the reasons why it's being held at Twickenham. It's obviously revenue sharing, for me, but yeah, look, certainly as an All Blacks rugby fan, I think you'd be looking at the All Blacks, South Africa, the two tests in New Zealand, in Auckland, the first test in Auckland, and certainly in the second one in Wellington. And I think for either side, whatever happens in both games will ultimately decide who wins the Rugby Championship. And with that in mind, just to close off, who am I thinking? So I'm going to tip the All Blacks. I just think they are going to be advantaged by having South Africa at home. They've got Eden Park, and I think they will be out to show that that they are still the team to beat in the Southern Hemisphere. There's a lot of the team is still essentially in transition. It's still not quite at what we like what we'd like to see, but it is certainly looking like it's tracking in the right direction. And I think just simply because of the fixture list, I'm going to go New Zealand to win the Rugby Championship. And I think we will retain the Bledisloe Cup, because I've got to mention that. So that'll be New Zealand ahead of South Africa. I think the Wallabies might just sneak ahead of Argentina. I just think, I just kind of think maybe that there's something up with the Wallabies, and maybe there's some question marks about Argentina, but for Felipe Contepomi in the side, particularly the consistency. And Australia do seem to be able to know how to get results against Argentina. So for that reason, I'm taking the Wallabies third, and then Pumas fourth. But which is not a disgrace, simply because there are only 4 teams. These are the 4 best teams, nations in the Southern Hemisphere. But look, that's my thoughts on the Rugby Championship. A little bit of a preview, and like to hear your thoughts on the squads, teams, and what the results are, and what do you think how the season's going to go. If you like this video, feel free to like, and don't forget to subscribe.